Hello and good evening and welcome to this live stream of Aussienaut. Hi, I'm Josh Keegan. I am the host of Aussienaut, and this evening we're going to be going through quite a few different things on igniting the space down under. So this is where we're actually going to be covering both the local and global space industries. So just prepare yourselves to have a listen to all of that. There is quite a bit that's been happening over the last month in both of these industries. And for the first time in a long time, which is not that long at all, we can welcome back Jim Clelland. G'day, Jim. How's it going? Thanks very much for taking the time to join me on this live stream.
It's going fine, thank you. Weather's turned a bit. It was nice and sunny for the past few weeks. Now it's started to rain.
Typical Scotland.
Yeah.
Hate to boast, but, in Australia, feel free to do so. We'll just say hello to Grioz. So hello there and welcome. And yourself, Jim, you're commenting in the comments as well? Dude. You're multi-talented. Let's just say. No? You're not going to say that?
Why not? Yeah. Go for it.
All right. We're going to get into Sorry?
Just try to get us another viewer.
Yeah. Always a good idea to actually have more than just one viewer. So, you as the other viewer is always a good thing to have. So, thank you very much for joining me on this one. We're going to get right into it and get into some Australian space news. All right, let's get into Gilmour Space. So the big news, this is Test Flight 1. Gilmour Space's Ares rocket experienced a misfire on the 16th of May 2025 due to issues with the fairing payload. So this was the message that was on Twitter. Or X. So last night during final checks, an unexpected issue triggered the rocket's payload fairing. No fuel was loaded, no one was hurt, and early inspections showed no damage to the rocket or pad. We will send a replacement fairing from our Gold Coast factory after a full investigation. That means we're standing down this test campaign to investigate and fix. A new date for Test Flight 1 will be announced once ready. P.S. Vegemite payload equals safe. Just for everybody who's joining us for the first time, so this is the what happened. So we were sent a replacement from a fairing up from our Gold Coast factory, and 1 hour later it was there and the next day. So for everybody who's joining us, the Ares rocket is actually a 3-stage hybrid rocket that can deliver payloads up to 215 kilos to a 500-kilometre sun-synchronous orbit, and a 305-kilogram payload to a 500-kilometre equatorial orbit. It's been founded in 2015 by brothers Adam and James Gilmour. Gilmour Space Technologies has been developing its rocket program over the last decade. The company's achievements include the creation of a 25-metre Ares rocket and the establishment of the Bowen Orbital Spaceport, a private launch facility in northern Queensland, my hometown or my home state. This initiative aims to enhance Australia's role in the space industry. And then we can see the Ares rocket sitting on the pad right there. So there we go. That was interesting. That was some of the big news we had from the space down under, or for Aussienaut. It was very, very interesting. So I've heard reports and things like that. I have friends in the space industry and the Australian space industry, and they said the front of it fell off.
Isn't that usually a bad thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure anymore. But anyway, so no one was hurt. I don't know, mate. I really don't. It's just wild stuff I've heard for a little while now in regard to Gilmour Space. So I don't know what to think anymore. Hopefully they all get it all fixed and all that sort of stuff, and they manage to they go through their checklist properly, and they manage to make sure that everything is A-OK. Next time they try to go through with a launch campaign. So did you guys manage to hear about this all the way over there in Scotland, or about what was happening here in Queensland, or not really?
Not really. There hasn't been a great deal about that. Mostly the Australian stuff I actually hear from you. So,
Yes, I am the authority on it. That's right. That's me.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate the fact that you get your only space news from me. There are other sources, I'm sure, but, I seem to be the most prominent for now. Anyway, so that's good.
Forever.
Sorry?
And forever.
Yes, now and forever, because I've got this wonderful channel called Aussienaut, and I'm going to go on to the next piece of Australian news. So basically, what happened was Varda Space Industries achieved its third successful mission. With the landing of the W3 capsule on the 14th of May 2025 at the Cunaba test range in Australia. So if everyone remembers, the Cunaba test range is where I went to live stream the high impulse launch. So it was launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket as part of the Transporter 13 mission on the 13th of March on March 14, 2025. The capsule's re-entry and landing marked the second time that Varda Space has successfully landed a capsule at the Cunaba test range. So as you can see, the 3 capsules are there, and very uniquely, there is also this footage from the payload capsule. Wow. That was some spectacular footage. The audio was lost at the moment there. I think the microphone decided to give up a little bit, but it wasn't lost entirely because there was enough air around the spacecraft to actually provide that whistling sound as it was coming in. That has to be some spectacular footage. Now, I went through and edited that one down myself because there is a full video that's provided by Varda Space Industries. You can go and find that on YouTube, and it's about 10 minutes long, and it is totally fascinating to watch that. Jim, thoughts? What did you think of that? Was that some good footage or what?
That was actually pretty incredible. I did have notification of that, so I've actually looked that up myself, and I watched the full 10 minutes of that, and you're right, it is fascinating to watch. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
But what is that? Did you say that's the third one now they've recovered?
Yeah, so they've managed to do three of them in total. So basically, what's happened is Varda Space Industries, the first one, they didn't have anywhere to land it. They sent it up on a SpaceX Falcon 9 mission, as everybody does. And when they tried to return it, it had to remain in orbit because they had nowhere to land it. What they thought was that they were able to land it at a military facility, or they were able to land it in the middle of nowhere in the US, and it turns out that wasn't possible. So there was actually a military installation that stepped up to the cause and said, yes, you can land with us. I guess being a military base or military grounds, there was some restrictions with them landing there, which is why Southern Launch and the Kundaba test range have now been tagged for them to bring back in the W3 mission. So, yeah, I think that's very, very interesting, and I thought it was very, very cool footage. That's the sort of stuff I love to see as a space nerd, and it's just amazing to see. We've got a question, a couple of questions from. Let's see if we can get them on screen. From Grioz. So, will you be covering any launches soon? Well, yeah, I hope to. And that's the intent, is what I'm going to be doing is live streaming a launch relatively soon. And we've got another question from Wagon Roller, possibly not their real name. Why an investigation after a successful wet dress rehearsal for Gilmore Space? I don't know. So the answer to that would be very long and boring, which would also include they would need to actually make sure exactly what happened and launching an investigation in it. It's not necessarily that Gilmore Space Technologies would need to do that. It's more a requirement of the Australian Space Agency. Remember that with an inaugural launch of this particular rocket, the Ares rocket, the reason why it needs to be investigated properly is possibly because the Australian Space Agency has actually asked for that and required it of Gilmore Space Technologies to make sure that it's investigated properly. And considering in Australia we've only had one launch, and that was of the high impulse rocket, the German-made rocket that was in South Australia that I managed to live stream last year. That was the only one launch, and so unfortunately, we're still getting used to the idea of making sure that we're able to launch, and we're doing all the requirements for a successful launch. So we need to practice, and part of that would actually be making sure that Gilmore Space is doing the right thing. The same as if High Impulse, if they managed to fail or that something went wrong, they'd fail fast, fail forward, and they would learn from their mistake. But also, if anything went wrong, I imagine there would be a full investigation for them as well. Jim, any thoughts?
Now, I can understand them doing the, you might term an after-action report and trying to find out exactly every stage that went through and every stage that had an issue with, just so they know that if it happens again and the issue comes up, they know how to solve it. I can actually understand that.
Yeah, correct. I mean, that's the thing is that I've also interviewed Adam Gilmour. You'll find it on the channel as well, and I interviewed him way back in 2019. And yeah, he actually said to me privately off air that they have a checklist. Unfortunately or fortunately, just depends on which way you want to look at it, they had spreadsheets with their checklist on it. So, and they had long, arduous spreadsheets. They had over 240 requirements, I think it was, or 420, or something of that ilk. It was 2019, so it's 6 years ago now. I can't quite remember what they were saying about that. But it also raised a point as well that I'm not sure. Look, I don't know about you, but I know that the Bowen Orbital Facility it's right there where that mark is. It's very, very tiny. The reason why that I've brought this up is just because I'm just hoping that Gilmour will not actually have any problems, because if you have a look at it, you'll find that there is the Bowen Orbital Spaceport, and that that darker blue you can see on the screen there, that's the Great Barrier Reef. And when you have a good look at it, I managed to call up their NOTAM, which is their notice to airmen that they're going to launch, and this is the particular trajectory they're going on. This actually indicates that they're going to go slightly north. So if we go back to the first image, you'll notice that it actually goes right over the top of the reef. So That's actually been a bit of a concern for me, and I'm just not sure if I should be concerned, if it's something I should be worried about. But do you understand what I mean? It's like it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But however, they've obviously done all their checks. They've got all the permissions and everything else. Obviously, it's not a concern. The Great Barrier Reef is heritage listed. Let's not go there. But what happens if it fails? Then is it going to drop on the reef? Is it going to be environmentally unfriendly? I don't know.
It's like the launch facility at Saxaford is on the most northerly island of any part of Scotland that a human being can reach. And to the north is basically the Arctic Circle. Right, so if it does come down in the sea, it's quite a distance away from any landmass. So that's pretty good, and it's not going to destroy a national treasure. So that's one advantage that Saxaford has, and the island is called UNST. UNST. It's got absolutely no landmass around it, no historical artifacts, anything like that. So if anything does come down, it's probably just going to come down in a bit of empty sea, not in a national treasure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. There's a question I'm trying to answer and quickly Google the response. So what do we know about the hybrid system, fuel type, oxidizer type, and how they steer the Gilmour rocket? Unfortunately, at this stage, not very much. They actually have a hybrid rocket engine. They use, as they say, a proprietary propellant that's listed on their website. I've got that on a different screen over here. I'm cheating. Yes, I'm cheating. It's live. I'm cheating. I wasn't expecting this question. But thank you very much, Wagon Roller. That's a very good question. I imagine it uses a proprietary, so it says proprietary solid fuel. I'm literally on their site, and it says it uses a liquid oxidizer. So the oxidizer is not going to propose much of a problem. It's just a solid fuel might actually propose an issue as well. The other thing is that this is test flight 1. I will point out that it's not quite test flight 1. It is for them trying to launch it, but I will point out way back in 2019 or 2020, they also went to the middle of Australia and they tried to launch the Eris rocket then. And that was a spectacular failure. And all that happened, so I guess there wasn't an explosion or anything like that, it just popped. Just because of the way the tank was pressurized and all that sort of stuff, it just popped and split in half. No, 2018, because I asked it in the interview in 2019. That's right. However, there was a move, like a documentary that was made about the Gilmore Space technologies and what happened at with that particular rocket. So if you go and have a look at my interview with Adam, he said that that failure was just a pop. But however, I do question whether I question the orbital spaceport and whether in close proximity to the reef. And 2, the other thing I question as well is, with all of this is technically their second launch. So anyway, I don't like to surmise too much. However, I will put a couple of things out there, and I will make it a little bit more well known. I hope to be proven wrong as always. Again, who knows? But anyway, all right, let's press on. Jim, you have something about the UK Space Agency.
Yeah, it's not totally in depth. It's just a bit of a coverage about the United Kingdom Space Agency and the work that it actually does. So, wonderful image there of Dr. Helen Sharman and now Major Tim Peake. Our first and second astronauts. Now, I'm going to define British astronauts as people who were born and brought up in the United Kingdom, and when they flew with the flag of the United Kingdom on their sleeve, rather than British-born astronauts who have dual nationality and have flown with other countries. Dr. Michael Foale being one example of that, because he flew with the Russians to the Mir space station, but he had the US flag on his sleeve. Project Juno was a privately funded flight between Russia and the United Kingdom, and it was kind of like a selection board to find a suitable candidate that would represent someone typically, I'm going to say typically British, but someone who would represent Britain in the international space industry. Now, there was a number of, I believe there were thousands of candidates, and then it was whittled down to about a handful, and then a selection panel decided on who would fly. And the one person that they decided on who would fly would be Dr. Helen Sharman. She's actually a chemist. And one of the things that they did in the media at the time, this was back in 1991, but one of the things that they did in the media at the time was they referred to her as the girl from Mars. Now, the reason for that being is she was working for a certain confectionery company at the time. And that's why they decided on that nickname in the newspapers.
Yep, gotcha.
So that was our first British astronaut. Second British astronaut, Major Tim Peake. Now, people would say like first official British astronaut because he flew with the European Space Agency. But even he admits that he was the second Briton to go into space as a British astronaut. And as you can see, they both flew with the Russians, as you can tell by the flight suits. Okay.
Which image should I be on? Sorry, I've got all these images. I don't know which one to display. Help me.
Stick with that one just now.
Okay, all right.
Don't breathe. So I'll just run through some quick items on the UK Space Agency. If you just keep that badge up, people will know what I'm talking about now. So the UK Space Agency is all about helping the government grow the country's economy. It's going to explore and keep safe both Earth and outer space. It's all part of it, and I have to quote this, the British Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. So, and that plays a big role in making sure that the UK's national space strategy gets off the ground. That was not a pun, it was not intended, it just happened. So basically what the UK Space Agency does is it builds a space community, it brings together investors, scientists, engineers, universities, research labs, etc. Now, it brings together companies which may take students from various universities. I know there's one particular company that definitely takes students from universities, because I've met a few of them. The company used to be in Edinburgh, but is now just outside Glasgow, and it's called Skyrora. So what it does is another thing as well that people might not realise it, but the space industry in the UK makes about £18.9 billion for the UK economy. Now, I actually worked that out, and that works about 39 billion Australian. And it creates over about 50,000 jobs for people across the UK in various companies. Obviously, you're looking at contractors, subcontractors, you're looking at technical support, and it just goes on and on and on after that. So the UK Space Agency has 4 what they term unlocking space programs. Now, these involve unlocking space for government, both civil and defence, unlocking space for business, and for investment. Now, the government civil programme is all about using satellite technology to make the UK public services more efficient and innovative. The civil workstream focuses on forming space-enabled data products and services into everyday government operations. So obviously we have weather satellites, we would have communication satellites, a lot of which are actually, for the UK anyway, a lot of which are actually manufactured in or around the Glasgow area, which might come as a surprise to people. So the Space Government Defence Programme is about bringing different government departments together to advance space for technology and for national security. Obviously, we want to monitor the things that are going in the country and around the country. If we see any, we do regularly get a lot of aircraft coming from a certain country that pass over our North Sea and head over the top of Scotland. We have ships coming in through the channel between England and France. So we need to monitor these areas quite effectively. For businesses, it really is all about growing new customers and technologies. If you remember in the good old days in the fishing fleets when they used to go out and it was like, oh, the weather would be good this bit, or I can smell where the fish are. Now we can use satellite tracking systems to monitor activities in fish. So fishing fleets can actually get a whole bigger catch as time goes on. So they just go out there, they know roughly where they're going to get what, and they can head out there, and it's an improvement for the business. So another item in the unlocking space is for business. It's all about growing the UK sector for bringing in new customers, helping finance and transport companies. Now, obviously, we want to ship things overseas. What's the best way to do it? How do I track my package? Is it on a ship? Is it on a transport aircraft? Is it on a truck? So they can monitor when items leave the UK, where they are next, where they're going to go to next, and when they arrive. That's all part of it as well. So there are 350 companies all connected to the various pilot projects, networking events, and workshops. And it's a good investment for the UK, and of course more people get involved in it, more money's involved in it. And again, technology helping people just do what they normally would do, but improving the technology improves the business and obviously makes money for the country. Another thing that the UK Space Agency is doing is investing in obviously science, technology, education, mathematics, blah, blah, blah. So it's STEM. Yeah. One of the ways that they're doing this, and could you flick to the Scout badge? Yay, that's one.
Yeah, you got it right.
One of the ways that they're doing
it's small celebration.
Bright yellow. One of the ways that they're doing this is to have an initiative with the Scout movement in the UK. In fact, on the 13th of March 2025, Major Tim Peake, Britain's second astronaut, launched a new space badge for the Scouts in partnership with the UK Space Agency. As you can see there, the badge says UK Space Agency. It's got a picture of a satellite above it and the Scout emblem. Now, the badge has 5 activities, so you've got to work to get your badge. It's not just a case of, hey, here we go. Now, am I right in thinking that I sent you some of these, or gave you some of these, and I think I gave you some of these in December?
I think you might have too. I'm pretty sure you did. I can't remember. You gave me a lot of stuff. I've got a collection of stuff. So, I've still got to sort through from when we met up in December.
Yeah. Now, Tom definitely gave you the saxophone badge. I know that for a fact.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So anyway, to get this badge, if you were a Scout, are you a Scout, Josh?
No, unfortunately, I'm not a Scout.
Okay, so you can't get one of these
apart
from when somebody gives you them. So to get the badge, you must complete 3 of the 5 activities. So I will read them out. I will actually quote them from the official website. So 1, explore first-hand accounts from people who have been involved in the space industry or witnessed its impact. You could speak with someone working in the field or try to talk to someone who watched the moon landings on television. Now, at one point, I don't know how easy that would have been for a Scout to do that, but now it's getting pretty easy to speak to people who are involved in the space industry, even if it's on a subsidiary level, if it was a subcontract level, that kind of thing. The company that I actually work for, we have a couple of contracts with a couple of space companies, which I obviously can't mention. So the next thing you could do is grow a plant without using soil. Find out how things are grown in space and why you might need to do it. Now, we're looking at hydroponics. How can you grow something when you don't have the soil to do it? And can you just grow them in a small container of water? This is one of the things that they have to look into. So they'll obviously have to do a bit of research on that. So the third option is to find out about light pollution and how it can affect our exploration of space. Now, we all know that light pollution in certain areas is really, really bad. But there's other areas we can go to and we can just look up and see the absolute wonder that is the night sky. So item 4, find out about satellites and space rovers. Now, Australia is the what did you call it, rover? Is rover
it's the rover by ELO2, which is it's actually a consortium of I think it's about 13 or 14 odd companies of one which is One Giant Leap Australia Foundation, which we are mates with. The Aussienaut is very, very good mates with.
Yeah. You guys missed a thing when you should have went with Bluey. You really should have. So
this was before the Bluey phenomenon, but I just thought I'd bring these up. I'm not sure you can see it very well, but there's one of the badges. There's one of the other badges you gave me. And the last one, that one. Oh, and then I also have this one. The light is not great over this side. You really need to get an extra light here or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But there we go.
that's Saxiford. Yeah. So apart from the Rovers, the next thing is using a medium of your choice, showcase something about space that interests you. So obviously there's multiple options there that a scout has to kind of, what interests me about space? Is it the night sky? Is it technology? Is it how to be an astronaut? Is it the science behind how to be an astronaut? Is it the chemistry? Is it physics? Just so many options there. And to do that, they may want to take photographs, record a video, compose music, or complete a piece of artwork. So can they write a song about space? I mean, Bowie's already done it, and Elton John has done it. And the wonderful video of Colonel Hadfield as he was playing Space Oddity on his guitar on the space station will live for me forever. So that is the 5 options that they have, and as I say, they can take 3 out of those 5 options.
Cool. That's
are you going to see Colonel Hadfield this year?
I have a very embarrassing story about all of that.
Do you want to tell me this off air?
No. I can say this on air because it just turns out I'm an idiot. which is I lined myself up to see Colonel Hadfield. I made sure that I was going to be there. I did all the right things. I looked up the ticket price. I thought that's okay. I'll go and do that. Where I work, which I don't disclose where I work, got hideously busy, and I forgot. But unbeknown to me, my wife decided to buy me a ticket. So I'm going to see him. Just not the VIP ticket where I get to meet him up close and personal. So I can't get any footage of that. It'll just be me and Commander Hadfield. Not me and Commander Hadfield. It'll be me with the rest of the audience watching Commander Hadfield up on stage. So that's more appropriate. So yeah, I will see him.
Oh, come on.
More from a distance, more than up close and personal, which is fortunate but unfortunate. So yeah, the UK Space Agency does a lot of things that the very similar to the Australian Space Agency as well. The very, very similar things that they do together. We are very interested in GNSS in terms of spatial positioning and things like that, and apparently we're one of the leaders in that particular area. All right. There's no further questions on that particular section. No one's asked any more, so we'll just continue on with the rest of this. All right, so I'm going to talk about the global space news. And Vast Haven 1. So founded in 2021 by Jed McCaleb, the privately held American aerospace company Vast, also styled Vast Space, is headquartered in Long Beach, California, and its mission is to develop artificial gravity space stations to expand humanity beyond the solar system. Jed McCabe is an American programmer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. I knew it happened. Philanthropist. Jed McCaleb also co-founded Ripple and served as its CTO until 2013. He is also known for his involvement in creating Mt. Gox Bitcoin exchange and peer-to-peer networks like eDonkey, Overnet, and eDonkey 2000 application. And as of April 2025, is worth $9.2 billion. Sorry, but that really dates me. Vast is currently developing Haven 1, a planned space station for low Earth orbit. The station is slated for launch no earlier than May 2026 aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The first mission, Vast 1, will transport a crew of 4 astronauts via a Crew Dragon spacecraft, Haven 1, for a 30-day stay in orbit. In March 2025, Vast actually released the following update via YouTube. So there we go. Vast is a very interesting company that actually burst on the scene not that long ago and already has a qualification article up and it's being tested and it looks live. So it's very, very interesting, and it's they seem to have come from absolutely nowhere. I do know that I've seen in recent days, like within the last month or so, that Vast has really raised the question about. From all the usual American cable channels like Bloomberg, CNN, all that sort of stuff, that they've kind of burst out of nowhere and they've come into this area and they've managed to scale up really, really quickly to produce a qualification article, which you saw on the stand there. What do you reckon, Jim?
Another competitor in the business is always good.
I know,
definitely
right?
Is. And one of the first things I did notice was as they were building I saw the nose cone, I saw the body of the nose cone. The first thing that occurred to me was Apollo Command and Service Module.
Yeah, yes. Yes, thank you for the parallel. That's been itching my brain for a long time.
Why did it take you so long?
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought you were going to make a really off-color comment about, with the nose cone, they were at least welding it on.
Oh, no.
Sorry, that's terrible. I mean nothing. That was a joke. Before you all come at me, yeah, it was a joke. I'm sure Gilmore Space is doing a great job. So yeah, look, they've come from absolutely nowhere. They've got a qualification article. At least as far as I can tell, they're a lot further advanced than. What are they? Blue Origin. That's it. Blue Origin and their orbital wreath. They seem to be a bit further along than those guys. There is another one out there. Sierra Space is also looking at an inflatable habitat. They've gone through a few qualifications. So to be this much further along, far along, seems really interesting. My question to you, Jim, and the rest of the audience, do you think that will make that launch window next year? What do you think? the $50 billion question.
Yeah. Tell me, will it rain in Scotland in the summer? Yes. Will it be sunny in Scotland in the summer? Yes. Will it all happen in the same day? Yes. So will they make the launch? It's saying they've got plenty of time to do it, but a year is not a long time. It really isn't.
No. And that's the thing, is if they hit any snags or hiccups or anything like that, it'll delay it completely. However, they are certainly look further along than others. And I guess, I do know that their International Space Station is due to come down in 2030, maybe 2035 now. And with that, they are looking for a commercial space station to go up and replace it. I guess Vast's whole aim is to at least have something sitting in orbit, so that way they're awarded the contract by NASA. I'm not even sure where that all goes, but very, very interesting, and it'll be we'll put it this way, for a space nerd like me, it's very, very exciting times ahead. All right, we should press right along and get into the next one, which is Relativity Space. So Relativity Space. Thanks, Jim. Anyway, it's based in Long Beach, California. It's focused on creating manufacturing technologies, launch vehicles, and rocket engines for commercial orbital launches. Founded in 2015, the company is currently developing the Terran R launch vehicle, with its first launch anticipated for late 2026. Earlier in May, that's this month, they shared an update detailing some of their progress.
Earlier this year, we shared a major Terran R program update. We're keeping this transparency going with monthly recaps where we'll be breaking down all phases of Terran R development, from design to build and test and launch. Let's kick off with a look at March and April. The team completed nearly 30 component-level critical design reviews, further advancing Terran R's maturity. The design of the second stage vacuum engine is progressing, with manufacturing release of the top-level assembly and all sub-assemblies. We finished welding and inspecting the first Terran R Stage 1 fuel barrel, which has since moved to mechanical assembly. The first of many fasteners have been installed on Terran R's domes, and more domes for future flights are arriving at the factory. COPVs are being welded and cleaned ahead of tank integration. Stage 2 COPV manifold tubes are being bent, and the first welded section of the manifold has been completed. The team completed the first circumferential friction stir weld for flight hardware, joining the Stage 2 common dome to the Stage 2 LOX barrel, a huge milestone towards tank fabrication. Meanwhile, qualification engine hardware is in production. The main combustion chamber is complete, and the main injector assembly passed acceptance testing for integration onto the MCC. A previous first stage development engine is now being converted into a second stage vacuum engine. Manufacturing for the vacuum skirt nozzle extension is also underway. The enabling infrastructure is coming together at our factory in Long Beach. Our dome flipping tool is active, and a larger machine shop area is coming to life, with new CNC machines and powder bed fusion printers undergoing calibration for high volume production. The propulsion development program is nearing completion as we move towards engine qualification this year. The final development engine has arrived at NASA Stennis for testing, and we're running gimbal tests with flight-like IPS. Nearby, conversion of the historic A2 stage test stand is underway, with the first major fluids equipment arriving on site. On the avionics and software side of the house, the team reached orbit in hardware out-of-the-loop testing with a full-scale vehicle box count, ahead of hardware in the loop testing this year. In parallel, avionics boxes are undergoing thermal and vibration testing. The structural test stand is nearing activation, following the arrival of reaction control towers and installation of the base barrel and load head. On a nearby stand, a development protobarrel underwent preliminary load testing, validating modeling and predictions. At LC-16 in Cape Canaveral, the first steel columns for Terran R's horizontal integration facility were erected, while work on the pad and critical supporting infrastructure continues. It's gearing up to be a busy second quarter, so stay tuned for more progress on the path to first flight.
Interesting. Very comprehensive update. Absolutely comprehensive update. It's just really, really interesting that there seems to be a bit of a theme running here, that all of a sudden everyone has decided to use YouTube as the main communication method for providing updates on how their internal works are going, which is very odd. For me, it feels very odd. It feels very weird.
Do you think it's just because it's cheaper, it's easier to put out there rather than trying to get a lot of money for advertising?
Maybe. Or the other thing is too is I guess that they don't have to pay so much for advertising. They can also can control the narrative as well a little bit more. We do actually have some questions. I've just got to find out where it is. So the question comes from Grioz, which is what do you think of the US Space Force having its own special operations unit? Ooh, a spicy question. Jim, I'll leave that one for you.
Oh, no. I'm not going to just
pass.
not discussing a special operations group publicly.
Yeah, I don't want to particularly go into that one either. I think I'll leave that, give that one a wide berth. It's special operations unit. That just opens up.
Can we?
Yep, go on.
Yeah, can we give that one to Brian the next time he's on?
Yes, I think we
shall. Or Tom?
I think we shall. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Look, basically for me, so I'll try and answer it as best I can. Look, special operations unit. That means there's a lot of different things that are going to happen in the space industry in terms of the US space, in terms of military defense. What that means in terms of technology, I don't know. The US military keeps it all as a very closely guarded secret. And I could guess. However, I'm pretty sure I would be wrong. I do know that There has been Chinese satellites that have been detected in space that have been trying to hook in other satellites. So there's that. I know that that the US also has the X-33 that goes up and spends months and months and months in space before it comes down. No one knows what they do up there. They just go up and then come back down. The first thing everybody knows is it's back down and it's landed again. It's like, what are they doing? It's a closely guarded secret.
But no, that's Brian's question.
The other question I have here as well is also from Grioz as well. What is a gimbal test? Well, I'll give you mine. Is gimbal test is actually making sure the engine can move when it hangs down, so it actually has so many degrees of movement. And the whole idea of the movement of the engine is actually to control the thrust authority on the rocket as it points up. And so when they do the gimbal test, they just make sure the engine actually has a free range of movement, using two maybe three actuators to do so. So and it's not a very large degree of movement that they need to have when they gimbal the engines or use the engines to change the trajectory of the rocket. So yeah, that's what gimbaling is. It's just literally the engines move, so that way they can control the direction the rocket is going in. The problem is if the couple of electric motors or hydraulic fluid, if anything goes wrong, then the engines can gimbal in opposite directions, which means boom. Generally. Do you have any more to add to that one, Jim?
No, that's covered it. I'm trying to think of a simple way to demonstrate a sort of gimbal. It's like a paddle in a way. If you were like rowing, and it's a paddle, it pushes one way, pushes the other. So if you push one way, you go a certain way. If you push another way, you go a certain way. But if the engines don't gimbal properly, the thing just goes either straight up or straight down. So it kind of it guides the vehicle as the vehicle starts to spin, and as it guides the vehicle in a particular path to make sure it's going to go the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, correct, exactly that. All right, so look, we'll segue into the next one, which is all about Virgin Galactic. Would you believe? So Virgin Galactic is it's a British-American spaceflight company founded by Richard Branson and the Virgin Group, and is headquartered in California and operates out of New Mexico. It develops commercial spacecraft and offers suborbital space flights for space tourists. Virgin Galactic's air-launched suborbital craft are deployed from the carrier airplane White Knight 2. The company's first space flight was in 2018 with its VSS Unity spaceship, not Starship, I'm getting the two confused. Initial aspirations for a maiden flight by 2010 were delayed, largely due to the October 2014 crash of VSS Enterprise. Virgin Galactic's VSS Unity achieved its first suborbital spaceflight in December 2018 and carried its founder Richard Branson into space in July 2021. Public sales tickets opened on February 2022 at $450,000. Commercial space tourism began Virgin Galactic 01 in June 2023 and Galactic 07 in June 2024. And in June 2024, that was actually Unity's final flight as the company transitions to its Delta class for increased launch frequency. So after 9 months of almost complete silence, Virgin Galactic released Galactic 10 on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Mike Moses, Spaceline President. We've been hard at work these last few months building our spaceships. Let's dive right into our accomplishments in this episode of Galactic 10. Beginning at number 10, this past quarter, the oxidizer tank for our first spaceship completed acceptance testing. It is now being cleaned and ready for shipment to our spaceship factory. This tank stores the high-energy propellant used to power us to space. Number 9, the two most impressive assembly tools in our factory are now in place. Our giant wing-up vertical final assembly tool has been fully installed. This towering jig is where we attach and assemble all of the wing structures, part by part. The wing is then transferred to a separate wing-down horizontal assembly tool, which has also been fully installed in the factory. This wing-down tool is where we will join the wing to the fuselage, which will complete 2/3 of our spaceship. At number 8, 2 of the wing skins have arrived at our spaceship factory. These massive skins are the outer surfaces of the spaceship wing, created from our strong, heat-resistant BMI carbon composite to withstand repeated re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. The next set of wing skins are already being made in Carbon's Georgia facility and will soon be joining their counterparts in the factory. Coming in at number 7, you might remember last quarter I showed you the tooling we would use to lay up and create the cabin bulkhead parts. The first 2 parts have been made with those tools and are being prepped to ship to our spaceship factory. The dome-shaped parts are also referred to as pressure bulkheads because they cap the front and back ends of the pressurized spaceship cabin. Number 6. Speaking of the cabin, the massive assembly tools that will bring together the upper and lower fuselage have arrived at the spaceship factory and are in place. The carbon fiber parts that go into those assembly tools are moving through the layup and build at Carbon's facility. The lower fuselage skin is in work, and we expect the upper fuselage skin won't be far behind. Number 5. The spaceship's towering feather boom skins are now in layup at Bell's Manufacturing Technology Center in Texas. The boom skins are created with the same heat-resistant BMI carbon fiber as the rest of our spaceship. The boom is basically the tail of our spaceship, and once we reach space, the booms are raised using our feather mechanism. This is the most innovative feature of our spaceship. It's what gives the vehicle its unique capability to change its shape, which ensures safe, flight-proven, aerodynamically controlled re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere on a repeated basis. We are headed into the final stretch at number 4. Our test engineers have completed functional testing and are starting vibration testing of the various core valve designs that we use on our spaceship. These tests are designed to push our systems to their limit, going beyond what is expected of them during a spaceflight. Once we complete vibration testing, we'll be ready to test how they function in the extreme hot and cold temperatures of space. At number 3, let's take a look at our progress on mechanical systems. Our spaceship landing gear is 95% complete, having been assembled out of dozens of individual components. The first production set should be ready soon for acceptance testing in our Ironbird test rig, and then on to delivery at the spaceship factory. Ground testing of other key mechanical systems is already underway, and the remaining systems are scheduled to begin testing this summer. At number 2, we've made big progress performing software and systems testing for our avionics. Avionics play a big role in our spaceship and in our mission profile. They connect with every system on the ship to give the pilots the information and control that they need to safely operate throughout the mission. The tests we do in our lab allow us to rigorously refine the software and the hardware for our new ships well before their first flight. All of this testing provides us with the data and knowledge designed to keep our ships safe, as well as allowing for a very efficient flight test program. Finally, at number 1, our pilots have been hands-on with the new flight control system in our flight simulator. We have a group of the world's best test pilots who are expert engineers in their own right. Our flight controls have been updated in our new ship, so to test and tune the system, our pilots will fly hundreds of incredibly accurate spaceflight simulations to finalize the design and handling qualities of the ship well before the first flight takes place. When you fly to space with Virgin Galactic, our incredible pilots will be the ones to get you there and back safely. As you can see, we are full steam ahead, building and preparing our spaceships. I can't wait to see the ship and crew take flight. Be sure to follow along and watch this space for our next Galactic 10 update.
Well, thoughts? It just seemed like a lot of information. And they just blasted it straight out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
too much coffee.
They're making progress, mate. They're making progress. That's. I think what they're trying to communicate is we're making progress. We're still here. We're still alive. We haven't actually died. We are still trying to be relevant. You know, in terms of launches by other people like Blue Origin and the New Shepard and taking celebrities to space. I guess that's their response to all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that's it.
Yeah, I know. You man, a few words on a YouTube channel. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, I understand why you're doing that. So this actually leads us into the next part, which is this. Griot has also asked the question: will you be covering the iSpace moon landing? The answer to that is yes. I'll be covering that. I'll be doing that on my channel, and hopefully, he doesn't know this. I've got to ask. So maybe some Scottish bloke who might be talking to me in an orange top, who seems to be a bit of a moon enthusiast, might join me.
That's like being proposed to in a public area, and then you kind of go, do I say yes or do I say no? Or okay, we have
proposed to in a public area. Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right.
No, obviously, if the time is there, I'll do it.
Yes, of
Okay.
course. I mean, if the time is right. So speaking of which, that actually brings me to my next part or next portion, which is this image here is from iSpace itself. Resilience is currently in its nominal status, orbiting the moon at an altitude of between approximately 100 and 2,300 kilometers. Is current lunar orbiting phase and involves speeds oscillating roughly between 3,200 kilometers an hour and 6,800 kilometers an hour. From this lunar orbit, Resilience captured the photo of the moon's south pole, which we can all see here. The image reveals the rugged terrain and numerous geological features of the lunar surface. This particular view can create an optical illusion where many of the concave craters might appear convex. So what's your perception? Are they craters or are they bumps? So there you go. It's in orbit.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's as you say, it's the optical illusion. I'm looking at it, but if I look at it a different way, I'm going to see something completely different again.
The other thing is I actually I just tilted my head to one side. So I looked at it that way and tilted my it's not the same thing. Oh, we're doing the same thing. We both tilted our head the same way. That looks really weird, but also really good for a YouTube channel. So I'm quite looking forward to the landing. I hope that they managed to stick it. There has been quite a few attempts this year so far. I can't remember both of them. One of them failed. Who was that? Which one was the one that failed, that fell over twice?
Oh, yeah, it landed on its side.
Intuitive Machines.
Yeah,
Intuitive Machines landed on its side. And the other one was Blue Ghost. Blue Ghost, yeah, they actually successfully landed. Mind you, their lander was significantly wider. And that's right. And we tried to have a bit of a discussion about it, and someone had internet problems. It kept disappearing.
I can't really remember much about that, to be honest.
I can remember. Hey, Jim, what do you think about this? And then it'd be blank. There'd be no Jim.
Yeah. Now, I definitely think the advantage that the second landing had was it was wider. And I believe we were looking at 4 legs instead of 3. They'd obviously looked at the design of the lunar modules from the good old Apollo days and thought, this will work, because even when an Apollo module landed at a tilt, it didn't fall over. But the intuitive one just kind of went, boom.
Yeah, see, for me, they used the same design twice, and to me, it seemed like it was really top heavy. It was
definitely top heavy.
That design lends itself to being top heavy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that was, for me, it was demonstrated by the fact that the Blue Ghost mission by Firefly, that's it, Firefly Aerospace, they landed quite successfully, but theirs was a much lower center of gravity and much wider than the Intuitive Machine. So but I know you kept disappearing during it, but my conclusion was I really hope they change the design before they try again.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen online, I don't know if you've heard the same thing, but what I've seen online is they're not fundamentally changing the design at all. So it'll be 3 for 3 failures. And then what happens to Intuitive Machines from that point? Anyway, there's only so many things we can do as armchair space enthusiasts and armchair specialists. We can voice our opinion on the YouTube channel and hope that people will agree with us or disagree or tune out.
Yeah.
All right, so we actually have a question here that came through, and it's been asked by a wagon roller. So, what happened to TI Space that became AT Space in Australia? Good question. I don't know. That's so. Okay, from my perspective, being an Australian, being here in Queensland, TI Space or AT Space was very prominent to begin with, and they were doing a lot of deals with Southern Launch. They were quietly working in the background. I believe they're at a Taiwanese company, and as far as I'm aware, they did have a couple of rockets here in Australia that were here. I was informed quite reliably that they were here, that the 1, 2, and 3 were here. So that's the first one, the second one, and the third one. I don't know what's happened from that point. So I don't know if they were trying to launch from the Kundabat test range, or they're simply waiting for Southern Launch to create their new launch pad at Whalers Way, which is also in South Australia, which is around about 400 kilometres from the Kundabat test range. So I don't know if they're simply waiting, or there was so many technical issues with trying to launch their rocket that they've just simply decided to go back to the drawing board. I don't quite know exactly what's happening with that one. And I couldn't actually say very reliably, but my guess would be they've gone back to the drawing board, or like most space companies that get very close, their funds might have dried up.
Yeah.
You did the same thing, Jim. All right. Well, I think that's it. Unless anyone's got any more questions for either myself or Jim. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, Jim, for joining me on this, the Igniting the Space Down Under. If anybody wants any more information about Jim, I've placed links in the social and to his social media pages in the link in the description below. So thank you very much once more, Jim, for joining me for this session. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having a stable internet connection.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and hopefully, we'll get to do this again very, very soon. With the iSpace launch, I will let you go away and think about it. I don't want to pressure you. I've got the ring. I don't necessarily want to force it on your finger or anything like that. I'm going to stay away. It's all right. I'll have all due respect. No pressure. Marry me.
Okay.
All right, guys. So thank you very much once more, Jim, for joining me on this. Look, if you guys like this live stream, you know what to do. You need to like, share, subscribe, and feel free to reach out and support. Thanks very much for watching the Aussienaut live. And remember, stay caffeinated.